One of the conversations that we've had with the faculty, anyway, is this whole idea of branding and the MFA. The MFA in writing, and particularly low residency MFA programs, have really become a commodity in this country. And I think one of the issues is does art, how does Goddard, let's say, for instance, differ from other programs? And I think we offer playwriting and screenwriting, which not a lot of programs offer. And this thing called the teaching practicum, as far as I know, I think we're the only program that offers that, where students go out into the world and get a teaching gig of some sort or another. It can be in their house or under the auspices of a library or a foundation or a literary center in their hometown. But I also think that it's what comes into play too is the whole idea of how do you get how do writers find out about MFA programs, and why has it become important to go for the MFA degree when years ago it certainly wasn't the way it is now. Any thoughts on that, Darcy?
Well, I feel like
Douglas?
the MFA has become like, I think in the old days we had a mentorship system where, like, when Hemingway, he had a letter to like Richard Stein, and then she helped him with his novel. But we don't really have that like right now in the same way. And since we're Americans, we always try to make things more equal, right? So then, like, the writing program is a way that even if you don't know, like, you can't get the letter to Richard Stein, right?
Yeah.
So I believe in that, the way that I think Goddard is like an important part of that, in a way, in that we have a lot of students that live in communities that don't have colleges, they don't have writing groups, they don't have like intellectual circles, and so they can come here and they can find an intellectual community. Because I think that's a really strong, a strong thing about the low-res model in general, and strong about Goddard particularly. I think we're very accepting. Here we're very accepting.
Yeah. And just with the idea of the low residency as well, Darcy's talking about mentorship, just the fact that you are writing a letter specifically to a student, right?
Right.
And that you're entering into a very, with any given student, you're constructing a kind of specific kind of, interface that you have with that one student. You don't go into a classroom and present like, this is the thing that I think, this is how I think it's applicable to everybody in here.
Right.
You figure out how every different person is going to be able to hear it, right?
Right.
And I think you're working those things out in language, the actual letters, like you're able to,
Point.
And it's great too. I mean, I have these moments of like nostalgic moments in a way of that we're writing letters. I mean, the act of letter writing is something that is it's even foreign to people that we teach. I think it might be the only time in their life that they're actually writing letters in this technological age. We have students that are very young; they don't even know what that means. I mean, and the idea of books. I assign occasionally books of letters from writers that always is so amazing to them.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Good. That's good.
I think we do.
So we have times during the residency in which we meet with our students as a group. Darcy, how did that experience go for you, and what came up?
Well, we talk a lot about. I have some students that have some, very heavy subject matter, even some sort of traumatic stuff, and we talked a lot about how important it is to mediate that trauma, and how to really make it into something that like other people can absorb, and how it's important when you're writing that you don't just like throw your pain out into the audience. That it's mediated, it's thought out. You are detailing it, but also you have a way in which you are processing it.
Right.
That's something that we talked about a lot.
Right.
I think young writers struggle with that.
And one thing that came up for me, and Douglas, I'll get to you one minute, but one thing that came up for me was this idea that just because it happened doesn't mean that you write about it. There's this weird belief that if you're writing nonfiction or memoir or whatever, that if you're writing a scene, you have to depict that scene exactly as it happened and put every piece of that, and it's totally not true. And one of the things I'm always stressing is that you're still making art, and art involves transcending the experience or the source material, literally.
For me, it's helping the students see how they're always in the actual experience. Like, one of the things that I do in my advising group is let the students get comfortable with each other, begin to talk amongst themselves, talk about their projects. And I'm not a writing teacher that like has my list of like writing prompts or my exercises that I give people. Again, that's something that I think like the idea of something being applicable across the board is problematic to me, because I think you come out with a student's like learning a certain set of skills and it's interchangeable,
right,
and I can be replaced or whatever. My idea is a student talking about their work, they have some phrase, to try to explain something. Start the piece around that phrase.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I had one student was talking about like in my head or whatever.
Right.
Will you start, like make that literal now,
Yeah.
a piece of writing or whatever.
Right.
You know? And try to give every student the thinking space,
Right.
the
Right.
thinking space, where they can see what they actually really know.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
help them recalibrate the work
I
around
really agree with that. 'Cause I feel like there are so many bad books actually because everybody works to get every skill, like the dialogue,
Yeah.
Right.
exposition,
Right.
up at the same level, and then the books are just flat. And
Yeah,
they're not. I mean, they
exactly.
may be competent, but I always encourage the students to maximize their strengths, minimize their weakness.
Right.
And that's how you write
Yeah.
something great. Is to
Listen.
go only with the thing you're good at.
Exactly.
And dilate it.
Exactly.
Like, dilate the thing you're good at.
Yeah.
Don't worry about like the things you're not good at. Don't
Yeah,
worry about them
exactly.
so much.
Yeah.
You know?
And I also talk about a lot of times. I always talk about the original idea,
Mm.
and I even give it a technological framework where we were looking at an essay that was actually an interview with Maurice Sendak that had been called and made into an essay in which one of the original ideas in the essay was that Mickey Mouse is a schmuck.
Mm.
And I said to them, if you Google Mickey Mouse is a schmuck, Maurice Sendak is the only person that's going to come up. And that's what you should do when you're writing. You should actually Google. I do this myself. I Google sentences to make sure that they haven't been written and how original is, and the original idea, that the original idea is more often than not, like you were saying, it's the isness
Well,
of
the
them,
students
of the work.
oftentimes have this thing like the writing is compartmentalized, and that's also something that I like about the method that we do our teaching here. That like you can actually get a sense of where somebody's at in their life right now. You can
Right.
help them make that bridge between that and their work, or you're reading their letter and they're a better writer in their letter for some
exactly.
reason, and you can just box it and be like, write like this.
Yeah.
It's like rather than through the artificial scrim of
Yeah,
like the fake
exactly.
sound, the
Yeah.
fake voice.
Yeah.
Like, this is where your voice really is.
Right.
And this is something I actually learned from Darcy, is like actually trying to figure out or be attentive to the one thing that I think each student has that's uniquely them.
Yeah.
That they can bring more forward.
developed
This
that, yeah.
this is the thing to stand behind.
Yeah.
And this is the place to
Yeah.
write
And-
from.
And also that they are their work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to inhabit it fully. They have to
Exactly.
be fully engaged. They
Yeah.
are the work.
And they're responsible for it.
And that's for some reason culturally that's not something that is very clear.
Yeah.
I think that is one good thing about it, like an MFA program, is like you can get connected to the thing that you're the most passionate about, try to refine it, and try to really be present to it.
Yeah.
Really be present to it.